Welcome back, y'all. Thank y'all again. We are here with the amazing talent at the table here.
Yes.
This is our second segment. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, it is.
And we are going to pivot just a little bit and focus on community and community involvement. How important is community to you and what you do and what your calling is? So these lovely young ladies will, of course, come in and tell us how they intertwine community with what they're doing to make their goals and their vision even better.
Yes.
I love this topic so much.
Okay.
The difference between a good life and a great life, this is a study done by Gallup. The difference between a good life and a great life is community. Mm-hmm. And we're in a really interesting time right now, almost a bit of a renaissance, because while yes, we have social media platforms,
right.
you actually, there's a limit to where it becomes diminishing returns with community, and where in-person matters. However, it is interesting to see the shape of community, and we're coaches, and when we think about coaching in the industry, nobody's really conquered the market yet. 95,000 coaches around the world, and it's the second fastest growing industry, second to tech.
And why is that?
Yeah, why?
Why is that?
I think there's a few reasons. One is millennials and Gen Z folks, they crave development more than any other generation.
Okay.
And they crave coaches. They crave learning and development, and they also are not necessarily attracted to traditional ways of absorbing information.
Right.
But they do gravitate to coaching. And so this rise of coaching inspired me to have this thought about, if no one's cornered the market, we know that coaching is booming, I'd want to create a space, because for so long, and there's nothing wrong with being in diverse spaces, but for so long I was coaching and developing executives and corporate leaders, and nobody looked like me. And so if we really want to be able to play the game in the coaching space as coaches, and especially BIPOC coaches, so Black, Indigenous, people of color, we have to be able to really perfect our craft. So I had this idea to create a community around the craft of coaching.
The craft of coaching.
The craft of coaching, because there's a lot of people that call themselves a coach, and a lot of times there are consultants.
There are a lot of people trying to sell.
There's a difference.
Sell books, Jessica. It gets a little
Different.
annoying. Yeah.
So I'm a classically trained ICF PCC certified coach, right? And I've taught and trained coaches around the world. And I was like, I want to bring this back to my community. I want to bring this back to people that look like me. And then Myra and I had gotten back in touch with each other. We went to Spelman together. Weren't necessarily all that close in Spelman, but there's a spark and a light in Myra that I think comes through wherever she is. And I was just like, what if we got together and we built this community? And so we have been building it and growing it, and it's just this beautiful space of people coming together where we are literally networking. People are getting business and doing business together.
Yes.
And
That market's happened. That's awesome.
all of these things are happening, and we are growing. Right now, it's still invite only. So
That was my next question. Are these people from your individual networks, or?
Yeah, and it's invite only. We're gonna eventually, open it up, but we've curated this beautiful space for a community to exist online, and it's literally everybody that's passionate about developing other human beings. We're talking about the craft of your question asking, your listening abilities, and how are you dealing with your wellness as a coach? We're diving into real life topics, so it's been super rewarding. And I'll let Myra speak. And I'll talk about
Well, I was just going to add, what is the other part that just makes it amazing is the networking, is the community that it creates. So Jessica talked about how we reconnect, and I believe God brings in the people in your life at the very perfect time. Like God's timing is perfect as always. And I had just launched my business, became a full-time entrepreneur. So I left my comfort zone of having, a job and the benefits and like that structure. And I'm out on my own now as an entrepreneur. And so community was critical for me. It was critical for my development. In the base of the word is common and unity, right? So there's this common unity that you bring together. And so you find union and you find commonalities in the space that you are in, right? And that was what we found in the craft of coaching. people that are doing the work. And as coaches, we're also giving out a lot too. So it's important that we have a space that we can connect with others to fill our cup.
You know, that couldn't be more on point. Every profession has continuing training.
Continuing ed.
Attorneys have
Yep.
continuing
Yes.
legal education,
Yes.
doctors, realtors,
Yes.
everybody.
Nurses.
So you are coaching, you are coaches. Why should your craft not be sharpened and tightened
Yes.
up by periodic? Because you give so much out of you.
Yes.
Who's pouring into you?
Yep.
Pastors, I hear from all the time. We
Yeah.
preach so much, but who's preaching to us? Right? So you can't go feed your sheep or feed God's people unless you are poured into spiritually from somebody. So the craft of coaching, the craft of counseling applies to everyone. But what you said, something else kind of hit me. Community, and the old people, our elders call them tribes.
Yes.
They call them tribes.
Yes.
And I think this generation, and when you're talking, I just see my daughter because she is so y'all right now. And she's in the coaching. And so, I mean, she does all that. She tells me, Daddy, you needed. Well, our generation didn't have the luxury of that. We were more self-reliant, self-resilient.
Right.
I think that's why I'm probably about the oldest one here. We are self-starters, creators. We are going to get it, and we don't care if you come with us or not. Right? Am I
Right.
lying?
No, that's
I do it myself. I learn everything myself.
Yeah.
But that's not a formula that's going to be sustainable. That's not going to work for you long term because you're going to burn out.
Right.
So this younger generation, they do crave community because they need it. And I think we need to give it to them the way that they are able to receive it.
Yes.
You know, it means different things to everybody.
That's right.
You can't just take community in one fell swoop definition and think it's going to fit. Square pegs don't fit in round holes. This is a different generation.
Yeah.
These kids are so different, so we got to give them what they need and what they crave. And
Yes.
coaching is really what it is.
And as we even think about AI is coming and you can't stop a freight train, but the two things that AI will never be able to replace is community and personal development. And so we
Yeah.
are in that
see that.
space, right? But then also going back to your point about the generational thing, I would argue that in past generations, there was much more of a community from a neighborhood perspective in terms of people looking out for each other and helping to raise each other.
Right.
And we have kind of lost a sense of that. And I think even more so now after the trauma, the collective trauma that we've all gone through with what we've gone through
Right.
since 2020. And so the isolation and being told to isolate with people withdrew from community, but because we're social in our nature, we crave that and we need that. So it's being reinvented, right? So
Yes.
it's so interesting
Jessica,
to see.
that's
how
a
it's gonna
great
transform.
perspective
Yeah.
on.
That is so good.
I love, anyway, just
That's-
hitting
Yeah.
home for me.
Yeah.
Well, and I
This
think
has been
I
really managed.
admire like the communities that you built and how you give back to your community. Like I'm here. I'm just gonna put them on blast. I'm
Yeah.
here for a jazz concert where you're bringing people together in
Yeah.
community, where and all of the proceeds are going to in support of a charity.
That's
So
beautiful.
that's another way to create community through an experience. It's like a one-time experience. Maybe we'll never all gather,
Sure.
but in that one moment, there's a common unity, right?
Well, I grew up swimming and I coached for 10 years and I took a 7-year break from coaching. And now I run a real estate brokerage in which I coach agents and I feel like I'm a therapist, but I love
Exactly.
it. I
Yeah.
yearn for it. Someone told me I should do it. And one day I woke up and just at a high level saw it was more than making money. Selling homes is great. I'm grateful I built a life from that, but I knew there was more to be done. And I saw that more was needed in the community.
Definitely.
And I love to continue doing it. Nobody, just from my personal vision, philanthropy is just a fancy word that you would see author blank giving at the Atlanta Falcons or Home Depot's summit. But I want to learn more about philanthropy and continue to do other things because it's there.
That's
And
fulfilling.
it could be every city I go to, I see a need, and you can't be all things to all people, but you can do your part. So that's kind of where I'm with community. So I'm using real estate.
Yeah.
James is using law, and we're doing the best we can.
You're
So
right.
this is great.
You got to do your part. But I'm telling people on the mayoral kick, right? I always say bad elected officials are elected by good people that just don't vote. You
You gotta say that again, James.
Bad elected leaders are elected by good people who just don't
Don't
vote.
vote.
Don't vote.
So
So you're
community-
not voting is a vote.
It's not a vote. So you got to do your part in community. So when I'm out talking to people, they can love my platform and my message. I'm glad they do because I feel it's organic. It's who I am. But it doesn't matter if you don't do your part and
Right.
vote. And this generation here, they are galvanized, around the issues that we are dealing with right now. The old way of doing things is kind of out. You know, they don't subscribe to the civil rights struggles that we had to go to as much.
Yeah.
May understand the history, right? But they say, yeah, we can do a better job. And I believe things are changing and shifting, but you guys, we have to do our part. Community, yeah. I used to be disciplined by everybody on my street.
Yeah.
And
Same.
right. Right. And they would tell my mom and dad when I got home, and I better not talk back to Miss Melba, Miss Agnes,
That's right.
Miss Barbara.
That's right.
You know, that was a sense of belonging, right?
That's right.
Right.
Because everybody had a vested interest in seeing you become a productive black male, black woman, powerful, empowered to go out and change the world in my neighborhood.
In your neighborhood.
Right.
In my neighborhood.
And there was a trust there that's now lacking because people don't know each other.
And not connecting, which
Right.
I think it's important that community is intentional. That sense of belonging that you talked about is created in community. And if we're intentional about creating community, then it develops. It does look different. You're absolutely right. Community looks very different than it did your generation, my parents' generation, generations before that. And being intentional, I also think we have to realize that you have different people in your life for different reasons, right?
Sure.
Right.
So everybody's not going to serve the same purpose.
Right.
Even we talked about tribes, tribes is a word people use like, oh, no, that's my tribe. Like,
Yes. Right.
find your tribe. You hear things like that. And it's true. There's some truth to that you should be intentional about finding the right people that are in your life for the right reasons.
Yes.
And
Sure.
so, my tribe consists of someone that supports me. I have someone that I know that I can go to that's really just support. Like I might just need to vent or something. I have an accountability partner in my
Yes.
tribe, someone that is going to hold me accountable. When I say I'm going to do something, they're going to check in and make sure Myra's doing it.
Exactly.
I have a cheerleader of my tribe, somebody that I just want to call and feel good about myself. And sometimes you just need
You
to
do.
be cheered
You
on,
do.
right?
You do.
What about
Yes. And then
our partner?
you read my mind. Yes.
On the
Power
break, we
partner.
heard about power partners. and
Power
I said,
partner.
what is that?
Explain
So
that.
without further ado, tell us.
Yes, absolutely. So I have a power partner in my tribe. And those are the four main ones that I have: support, accountability, cheerleader, and partnership. And Jessica is a power partner. I have more than one, but Jessica is a main power partner. And that's someone that you are collaborating with, you're brainstorming with. We even call it masterminding. You will hear that term. And it is someone that is really ambitious and really has a similar or common goal. And you can go to that person and you can share ideas and they'll help you craft your ideas and they'll help you. It's moving forward though with a dream, a vision, a goal with that person in partnership.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And there's almost like an intuitive hit that happens when you have found your tribe. And there's a few things that you can also watch out for. It's like, one is you don't have to spend as much time complaining about what's happening because they're going through it as well, right? And you have this sense of belonging. There's like I actually belong here. I resonate with these people. And then I always go back to the tribe. So for those of anybody listening that's struggling to find community, you can also do a little bit of trial and error. There's so many communities online or things to join. And it's almost immediately that you'll know, like, these are not my people.
You know it.
You know it on the
Yes.
first
So
10
obvious. Yes.
So
I'm not in the right place. Right, but the opposite is true.
God.
Because when you do find your people,
You
it is
know.
the other way. Other
You
feeling.
mean
like,
your camera's
I
not
found
on?
my tribe.
I found my tribe. That's
You're
right.
showing your face. You're not hiding your face.
Yes.
On a Zoom.
Forward. Yes, these are
Yeah.
my people. You're right.
It
You're right.
is.
You can walk into a room and feel the energy.
Yes.
When I'm in court, when I'm litigating a case,
Yeah.
you walk in and you can sense the jury. You can
Yes.
sense, the judge. It comes from a spirit of discernment. You got to have that too. Everything you do,
Yes.
right? But when you get that, it makes you that much more confident in what you're doing. And if it's not your energy, if it's not your crowd, then guess what?
That's okay.
Time to go.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that people don't always talk about. As you grow and evolve, especially in entrepreneurship,
Changes.
your community changes because you're changing. And what you can't wrap up in fear around is holding on to relationships that have been outdated.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Jessica.
Say that again. And take.
Yeah, hold on.
Outdated. And it's
Outdated
just-
relationships. Okay.
Yeah, you
Yes,
can't
they've
cling
served
to
their
them.
purpose.
Yeah.
And it's time to move on.
And
Do
only
you
use
cut them off completely, Jessica?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation and the circumstance. I just feel like you don't want to be afraid to cut people out when it's necessary to do so.
Yeah.
And you know that. Usually you know that. You feel the staleness, you feel the forced energy around the interaction. And just you don't have to cling to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
The
toxic.
key word is you know. You just have to act
know.
upon that
Yeah.
first intuition with
Don't
every.
stay too long.
Again.
Don't stay too long because then it has negative impact on you. Your growth, you could be excelling to other levels, but if you're in a relationship that's stale, that you've outgrown, that's the other term is no longer serving you, right? It's no longer giving you what you need.
Right.
It's not reciprocal, those types of things.
Yes.
It could stunt your growth.
Absolutely.
If you stay there.
Right.
So you got to know when to go. Don't ignore the nudge, God will nudge you and whisper
nudges.
and it'll nudge, and then you're going to have to get pushed out.
But sometimes it takes a bullhorn from guys. Sometimes people just, like you said, when you stay too long, you actually are damaging yourself, but other people
Yes.
that you could be interacting with.
Yes.
Yes.
Or guys put in your path, like I could be over here with who I'm supposed to be with,
Yes.
but you're still over here
Yeah.
wallowing in the weeds.
Well, or you could be holding the other people back.
That's
Exactly.
I've heard and seen
The
the
reverse.
opposite.
Wait, you're right.
Because you're trying to uplift them or help them, but ultimately they need to fail
Yeah.
so that they can move on.
Yes.
That's a tough
Say it
one.
again. And say it again.
Really good.
Sometimes people around you or us need to fail.
Yes.
Don't help them. Don't slide them $500. Don't Zelle them. Don't cash out them.
Yeah.
Let them fail.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about getting a job, but in other ways as well.
So true, Taurus. That's so true.
Good.
That's
Now, there's also another extreme, and the new generation calls it the cancel culture.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you cancel everyone either. You talked about discernment, James, and I think it's important to use that as you evolve and as friendships evolve and things like that. Be mindful that you're not cutting everyone off because then that also damages community.
Right.
And in our community, there is definitely room to grow.
Yes.
And when you use discernment, you know the difference, right?
Yes.
And so I don't want to get into this place where everyone's cutting. We're telling everybody to cut
everybody
everybody off.
off.
That's not it,
No.
right? But
No.
using discernment to know when it's a season. They're in your life for a season or reason. There's different reasons people are in your life. There's different seasons people are in your life. True. So know the difference so that we're not creating this cancel culture that then depletes community. 'Cause
Yes.
we
I
Love
need
that.
people.
Right.
And that's why going back to the alone time, I know we were talking about that earlier, is so important because you need to, I always say, in order to respect yourself, it is being brutally honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those brutally honest moments come when you are alone. When you're not on the run and in the rat race. So just making sure that you're carving out that time to be able to discern and also listen to the voice of God as it's coming in is also important. And don't ignore it, because the thing is, the universe, God, very generous in terms of giving you the same lesson until you get it.
Until you get it right.
Grace and mercy every single day.
That's
Right. Because sometimes you realize, I'm the problem.
Right.
Yeah, it's me. We've all had that awakening at some point.
Okay.
And like
It's on me.
it's on me.
You
That
have
was
the
on
same
there.
pattern. Look at yourself.
Yeah.
I heard this great quote of, if you're pointing a finger at someone else, there should be 3 pointing back at you.
Yeah.
Or maybe more. Maybe
Maybe
more.
more.
Maybe
Three.
more.
Yep.
Oh, this
Three.
week.
All of them pointing back at me.
Right.
It's true.
But you
Check
know,
yourself.
also as you go up in your career, in your entrepreneurial endeavors,
Right.
your alone game got to be strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got to. My alone game is strong,
Strong.
now.
Break that down, James.
My alone game is strong. My alone game is coming home, unwinding, thanking God for the day. Whatever it is, whatever lessons I've learned, learning from them. Say, I teach me so I will not make the same mistake again. Thank you for your grace and mercy. I sit in here. My dog comes up and greets me unconditionally. And then my wife comes home and hopefully she does the same thing. And then I cook, and then I find that place to just be alone,
Right.
and be able to feel, the counsel that comes from God.
Yeah.
As only He can do it.
Absolutely.
Because, He can't, people can't, listen, we cancers.
Yeah.
You have to deal with us differently. And He knows how.
He knows.
Right. And it has been amazing. My alone game, I'm down in my basement. I'm just sitting there, and it's just my alone time.
Yes.
This is it. This is
Yes.
recharging, plugging
Yes.
in. You got your alone game's got to be strong.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
I just want to add, this is such an amazing point, and I heard this saying the other day that when you really think about life, none of us are going to live forever. The businesses that we build will eventually fail. The people that are our haters will eventually die. The people that love us will eventually perish as well. So what is the point of this life? It is to be able to find joy in your existence.
Yep.
And it's really self-actualization. And that a lot of times comes in those alone moments and those moments where you can discern. And the people that are able to find joy in existence. You don't need any stimulation. You don't need any outside forces. That's a different level.
Or stop and smell the roses, or slow down and enjoy your wins.
That's the higher level, like
Yes.
Maslow's needs, that when you're at that top level, that self-existence or self-awareness, that self-fulfillment.
And having the true joy that you talked about earlier, just in your existence.
That's it.
I have a crazy question for you, ladies. As you're coaching people around the world and things of that nature, people are typically dumping on you.
Yeah.
How do you deal?
Let me tell you about boundaries.
And we'll end here.
I had the best revelation about boundaries the other day, and I'm sharing it with everybody. They're gonna get tired of me talking about it, but it was something that hit me, and I hear people talk about it all the time. And I never really took time to understand, Myra, what are your boundaries? What do boundaries look like for you? And I almost felt bad sometimes about setting boundaries because I thought I was pushing people out, right? I might be limiting opportunities. I might miss out on something. And someone simply said, well, Myra, when you set boundaries, it's not only keeping things out, it's keeping things in. It is keeping things in.
Wow.
And that was the moment of like an epiphany for me. Like, oh, I have to set boundaries because I need things for me.
Yes.
I can't give it all away.
No.
I can't be everything to everyone.
No.
And I'll be depleted and drained.
Yes.
And so it was just as simple as like creating calendar boundaries. Like, I'm not going to have meetings at these hours. Or I turn my phone off at certain times.
Right.
Yes.
Or I can't respond to every text when I get it. I have
As
a
soon
certain
as you
time
get-
I only respond to text. Like,
Right.
those are boundaries, but it was keeping things in, my peace of mind, really.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, this has been so great. We could talk
We really
all day. I would love to have y'all back
Yeah.
Definitely.
on this journey with us.
Can we share about the craft of coaching and how
And
to find us?
please, I would love for you to tell us really quickly.
Yeah, so if you are a member of the BIPOC community, so Black, Indigenous, people of color, if you are really passionate about developing people and developing your craft, and you got good vibes, because we are very good vibes only, info@craftofcoaching.com. We'd
Dot
love to
net.
connect. I'm sorry, info@craft, this is why she's my partner, info@craftofcoaching.net.
Craftofcoaching.net.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you, ladies. This was great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
so
Wonderful.
fun.
Thank you, guys.